conversation go with my friend. We're in this together through.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Keep the Conversation Going. In this conversation, I sit down with Armond Hodge, a graduate of the University of Connecticut's MBA program and the founder of Novo Services Group. Novo provides professional career development services for its clients, dedicated to helping folks improve their ability to hone and tell their story as they seek to take their careers to the next level. In addition to being UConn graduates, Armond and I have both set out on the entrepreneurial path in the past several years. We sit down to talk a little bit about our experiences, our motivations, and our inspirations for helping others achieve their ultimate goals. As you can imagine, and as always, communication rises to the top in this conversation. We talk about the importance of engaged and active listening to ensure that the solutions we're providing our clients are as effective as they can be. Armond and I were really excited to get together for this conversation, and we hope that you enjoy it just as much as we did. So, as always, let's get this conversation started. Armond, welcome to Keep the Conversation Going. You and I have had so many great conversations over the years that we finally felt compelled to say, let's sit down, let's put one of these on film, and let's share it with the world. So, Armond, welcome to the show. And of course, I have to ask you, how you doing?
Rory, it's great to be here. I'm excited. I'm doing well. The family's good, family's healthy. As you know, Samantha and I have a 2-year-old, and he's doing well. That's the most important thing. How about you? How are you doing?
Same situation. We're so blessed that everybody in our family, relatively speaking, has stayed healthy and we've stayed safe, and we were finding ways to kind of have fun and, of course, stay connected. And that's really what today is all about, is staying connected, you and I, but also seeing if we can find a way to connect with some of the folks out there that might be listening or watching. So let's dive right in here. Armond, you and I go way back now at this point. The last time I saw you was on a cold winter's night up at Rentschler Stadium checking out our alma maters, our UConn Huskies. But for everybody that hasn't had a chance to meet Armond, who is really, truly one of the good guys out there, Armond, you want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. I do remember that cold night. Go UConn. So for those of you who don't know me, as Rory mentioned, I'm a graduate of University of Connecticut School of Business MBA program, class of 2016. I'm living in New Jersey, born and raised in Connecticut though, so I decided to hop the river. I would say, Rory, long story short, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm just super passionate about helping others. And part of my story that I really want to share and articulate today is everything I do, whether it's in corporate finance or I work full time or on the entrepreneurial side, as we've talked about, the end goal for me is to help others grow. And with that, although I work at ADP, I had a great opportunity to start my own business and kind of run with that over the past couple of years, Novo Services Group. So I'm super excited to be here again. Thank you for having me.
So that's really the theme, and I think that's what in many ways compelled us to come together today for this conversation was entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, when we look at the current lens in the times that we're now living in, it might seem daunting or even potentially overwhelming for those of us out there with an entrepreneurial like spirit. And yet you have dove 2 feet in this year. You have unveiled the Novo Services Group, which we're really excited to talk about a little bit today. So can you give us some details as to what types of services Novo is providing and kind of like where they fit into the current marketplace?
Novo Services Group is a professional development and career consulting services company. And what we really do is we equip our clients, whether it's a working professional all the way down to a high school student who's looking to graduate and go to the next level. We provide them with the tools and resources they need to really help their brand, help them grow. And a big piece of that is how they articulate their value proposition. So the services we offer at a very high level are really focused around the core individual and how they come across on paper, i.e. their resume, as well as their digital portfolio, which is super important today, and the interview, which is you really need to land that interview, and that's all communication. So Novo Services Group is focused on that. And I mean, the journey to get there has just been something that's just been a snowball effect over the past decade, and it really started when I was an undergrad. So that's a little bit about Novo.
So you know that I'm passionate about everything that you just mentioned, whether it was personal development, training, coaching people, interviews, digital delivery. Those are areas, and I'm no surprise. But it's really funny to me because when we think back to some of our first encounters, there was a real clear connection. I think that we became friends almost immediately. And I think it really stems from a shared value of communication, really appreciating the feedback that others can give you, or the coaching or development that might be able to take place during those processes. So my question for you, Armond, today, and I've always wanted to ask this of you, right? And I have never had a chance to dig a little deeper. So we're going to do that today. What inspires you to be the person that you are? One of the things that stands out to me about your character is that when you meet people, you have a true sense of being genuine, you are loyal, and you look to help people. And I've always wondered, going back a little bit deeper into the archives, when maybe Armond was really small, or as he's grown, where does the inspiration and motivation for this come from?
I'm smiling. And, going back, it really comes to my parents. My mom's a teacher. Even before I was born, she was a teacher, and my dad was a coach. Even though he had, corporate, he was drafted by the NBA, and so he's always been coaching. And to me, growing up in that household, it's just always been an environment focused on helping others. So my mom being a teacher, that's natural. I would say it's in my blood. And going even, around the high school time, and it was time for me to apply for college, I wrote a scholarship essay, and one of the topics was, why do you want to come here and what are you looking to do? And the first thing I said was, I want to be a pillar for students who don't have the same resources and opportunities that I had growing up, and I want to be able to provide for them and help them. And I mean, that right there is all encompassing of my parents and what they instilled in me, and then what I'm able to do now, carrying it further in both corporate and on the entrepreneurial side. So that's where the grassroots come from.
And it shows. I mean, it shows in your tribute to your parents. And even though I haven't met them, I feel like I know them in terms of knowing you. They raised a great son, and I'm sure they're really proud of you today. So let's transition a little bit here. Let's talk about the folks that you're trying to help, especially folks right now who either didn't have access to these types of resources, maybe didn't have those champions or cheerleaders in their corner. And then we topple that with the current COVID lens, right? We have a tremendous amount of civil unrest in our nation, and we're looking for direction. We're looking for leadership, and many of our folks are looking for support. How does Novo intersect it? And a two-part question for you. What is Novo set up to do during kind of normal times? And then what have you done over the last several months to try and respond, or to at least provide support given the amount of unrest that actually exists today?
That's a great question. So I would tackle the first part first, and that's around, what Novo does and how we do it. All things said, COVID hasn't impacted us the way in which it would a corporation that we see in corporate. And I say that because no matter where you are, or what you're doing, or who you are, you have a story to tell. You have to be able to deliver that message succinctly and clearly, and be able to get your points across. And that's what we focus on. I would then answer that with, everything that's been happening, whether it's the civil unrest, the unequal opportunities that we see, not just for African Americans such as myself, but women, and all other groups. We really want to make people be aware that you have a story to tell. It's okay to tell it. Let's strategically find a way to do that. So even though we're focused on resume and LinkedIn, there's a much bigger opportunity that my team is laser focused on. And that's sort of what's been happening behind the scenes. So the past few months, we've kind of taken a step back and focused more on the operations and building out what Novo means and how we're going to find that market and really get our brand out there so that we can help those who need help, not who necessarily want it, right? But those who really need it. It's one thing to want something, it's another thing to need it.
So much of what you said resonates with me. For viewers of the show, or for my clients, for my peers and colleagues, I think that they'll recognize an immediate corollary between both of our passions here, and that is that we all have a story to tell. But one of the things that Novo is really laser focused on is in that interview process, right, or in that positioning process, whether you are trying to get your first job or whether you're trying to make that big career leap, that they hone in on what their story is. I'm excited about that, and I know that you and I have plenty of conversations that we're going to have and hopefully collaborate later this fall on some workshops, so keep an eye out for those. But just thinking a little bit about what your story is and how you're positioning it, whether it be to the people that you meet on the street or whether it be to potential employers, you really do want to have those at your grasp. Let's talk about something a little bit. Let's change gears for a second.
Sure.
So we're both entrepreneurs, and I think that was not something that was in our repertoire when we originally met, but it maybe is no surprise to either of us, at least, that was part of our future. So that's really exciting. I'm excited to share that that commonality with you. So I want to ask you a question as an entrepreneur myself, for anybody out there who's thinking about starting in this area, for any of the young folks right there, or even for folks who are a little bit later in their careers and they always said, hey, I really wanted to go and tackle something myself. What do you enjoy the most about it? What do you think is giving you the biggest thrill, the exhilaration? We talked last week, we had kind of our monthly catch-up call, and I said, how's it going? And you say to me, you go, I've been working late. I said, are you doing okay? And you said, yeah, I love it. So talk to us a little bit about where you getting your biggest thrills from. For somebody out there right now who's on the fence, they're not sure, it's a tough time. What might you say to them that kind of gets you out of bed in the morning? What's giving you some of those excitement pieces?
So for me, I would definitely say it's my family, getting out of bed, seeing my wife, seeing my son. Being home during this time has really allowed me just more time to really think and assess what's really important. And with that being said, I'm fortunate to have my job. I mean, that provides for us tremendously, as well as my wife's job. For me, the entrepreneurial thing is more of like a inner passion. I've always wanted to create something and make it from scratch. And to me, I just feel that has always been a drive that I've had. Whether it was my first job working at Foot Locker and saying, "Oh, I want to design a shoe because I ran track and field in college and provide athletic apparel for high schools so that they have the proper track equipment to compete well." There's always been that burning fire. Now, as I'm older and albeit less time during the day to spend, I do find it very rewarding to know that when I do have a client and I meet with them and I help them, that keeps me going. And we've had a lot of success with the clients we've worked with.
Let's talk a little bit too about, we were kind of reminiscing about either not just clients, but sometimes like the people that we've had a chance to work with or the opportunity to influence. And you had mentioned something to me that I would like to pass along as a piece of advice. If everybody's watching right now, Armond has taken this step by step, pillar by pillar, in the sense that he started off with a leadership council and really made a point to pull in a diversity of voices to ensure that when Novo moves forward, that they were going forward in a direction that felt like they represented really everybody that they could potentially work with. So talk to me a little bit about, like, why was that so important to you? Like, you intentionally made an effort to ensure that it wasn't just one vision or one singular thought, but you felt compelled to do that. I know that you've had leadership roles going back to your time at UConn in the MBA program. Obviously, you are a leader very much in your community. So how is it that you've integrated this idea of bringing others along as part of your leadership approach?
Yeah, it was important that my leadership team, we share the same vision. And it's okay for us to have differences and different points, but collectively as a whole, we're on the same playing field. To me, that was the most important piece. And then secondly, I would say that there's something that they also want to achieve personally. And me as a leader, I want to help them achieve that, whether it's being an entrepreneur, whether it's also creating something from scratch and and having a positive impact on the community at large. Most importantly, I knew I couldn't do this alone. And everything that we've worked on since the time that we had connected, I think it was around October, we've taken a lot of leaps and bounds. We have video content that wasn't there when I first started. So there's a lot of pieces that I'm not able to do on my own. And collectively as a whole, we're able to accomplish a lot more. So for anybody who's listening and thinking about taking that next step, definitely have the vision, know it, and then have champions who foster that same energy and drive as you. That's the most important piece. And then from there, as long as you're working as a unit, I feel like you have the runway for success.
And I'm going to add one more to that, Armand, and it's a tribute to you, actually. So in our friendship and relationship as very much peers, I think it would have been quite easy for us in early days to have pitched each other what we planned to do and said, well, wow, that's in the same marketplace as me. Armand's a competitor maybe, and he's trying to offer similar services. And I would argue that our relationship and the friend that you are is an example of what all entrepreneurs really should be looking for. Find folks who share similar passions, like steer into those people in your area, in your field, and see what they're doing and what makes them successful, and reach out. And you'll find more often than not that good people align with good business. So the folks who are open to the conversation, the folks that are willing to share some of their secret sauce with you, those are folks that are going to run good businesses. Those are the people you want to learn from. So I think if you're an entrepreneur out there, Armand's saying, not only do it by yourself, but reach out to other folks who are in that same part of the process. You can share tips and tricks. And I think that we all rise together, right? This is truly an infinite game, and that there is no short-term games. This is just about us doing it for the long run.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so let's bring this thing together here just a little bit for the audience. All right. So communication has of course been at the center of not only our relationship, this conversation, the services that we provide. So as I always do, I have to ask my guests, what does communication mean to you?
Yeah, to me, communication is a two-way street. And it's just as important to be an active listener as it is to be somebody who just, speaks all the time. So active listening is crucial. As somebody who's in business, somebody who's very business minded, the only way you really know you can hit on a point and solve somebody's problems is to know what challenges they face. So we have to really be engaged with our clients who are, I say clients, but let's just say our peers, our friends, our colleagues. How can you help them? You have to listen to know what they're saying and what concerns them. So active listening is one. And then two, back to my points earlier, really being succinct on your messaging and making sure it's clear and concise, especially today with digital, not having that face-to-face interaction. If you're not great at drafting an email, it's going to be tough for you to make your point across something or across a channel if you don't have the tools that you're used to, which is face-to-face.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I hear you saying there too is like listening and not just hearing, but being engaged in that process, like trying to take on a perspective, share sympathy, share empathy, like be a part of whatever their pains are. Because if you can't feel the pains with your clients, with your peers, your friends, how can you possibly put yourself in a position where you can solve their problems?
Absolutely.
All right, Armand, we knew that this was going to be a lot of fun, and you and I could talk for the next 7 hours, but we're going to put a stop to this one right here. Folks, if you're watching, Armond Hodge is one of the best. He's an entrepreneur, and he's a community leader. Check out Novo Services Group on LinkedIn. They're a great follow, lots of tips. If you're hitting the market and you're looking for a little bit of advice, reach out to Armond and his team, and they will take great care of you. Also, I just want to have a plug. Coming up, hopefully here later in the fall, we're going to do a little bit of a collaborative workshop, so keep an eye out for that. So if you enjoyed Armond and I being in the same space together, then come back and join us for that fall workshop session. Armond, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on to do this.
Absolutely. Anytime. I can't wait till we can work on this collaboration in the fall. I'm looking very forward to that. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Keep the conversation going, my friend.